Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so happy to have Rod Pulido here for his first book, Chasing PACQUIAO. Thank you so much for being here, Rod.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, we have in conversation Kat De Los Reyes. Thank you so much for being part of this, Kat.
Thank you for having me.
So Rod is an author and filmmaker. He got his Bachelor of Arts in Film Production from California State University. His directorial debut, The Flip Side, became the first feature by a Filipino filmmaker to world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. He enjoys collecting comic books and working out at the gym. Stereotypes be damned. As I mentioned, this is his YA debut, Chasing PACQUIAO. And in conversation, Kat De Los Reyes, the host of the annual #API Bookstagram Tour, who helped organize also the #Stand Up for AAPI campaign in 2021. As a little bit of housekeeping, if you would like to purchase any copies of Chasing PACQUIAO, both in-store and virtually, you can definitely still do that. For in-store, the registers will stay open until the last person's out. For virtual, if you want to get a signed copy, there is a link below that you can go ahead and click that and order a signed copy. If you want to get personalized, I recommend you give us a call so we can make sure you can get a personalized copy pre-ordered. All right, thank you much, everyone. Enjoy the event.
Thank you. So I have my questions on the phone, so don't worry, I'm not Googling or anything. Okay, so I'm going to start off by asking you, when did you decide to become a writer? How did that come about? What did you do beforehand? Tell us.
Yeah, actually, I never really had plans to become an author. I always wanted to be a filmmaker. I went to film school at Long Beach State. I was only one of two Filipinos in the entire film department.
Bluetooth mode.
And then when I graduated, I set about making my first feature, The Flip Side. And so what happened was I got into Sundance and became the first Filipino director to get into Sundance, and I was able to land an agent. Unfortunately, when we went on submission with my screenplays, producers would tell me that they love my writing and my dialogue, but they would always say to try to make it more mainstream. And a few even actually told me point blank to change my Filipino characters to white. So I'd always wanted to become a filmmaker so I could tell Filipino stories. So I was not having that at all. And so because of lack of opportunity, I dropped out of Hollywood and I became a teacher. And then when my son was born, I became the designated stay-at-home parent. And I decided, since I had more free time, I would try my hand at becoming an author. And that was that was a hilarious baptism of fire, because I did not know what I was doing when I was writing my first manuscript. I wrote this sci-fi adventure where it had like 10 POV characters.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
You have to describe it a little bit.
yeah.
It sounds good.
Actually, the premise is kind of cool. I mean, it's about this shapeshifter, and it dealt with Filipino inferiority complexes and what is means to be beautiful, and so that was the overall theme of it. But as far as my craft, I really had no idea what I was doing. I like I said, I had too many POV characters. I was writing in a third-person past, when for YA you're supposed to write usually first-person present. So, and then when I went out, when I started querying, I got like zero interest. I think I sent out like 30 query letters and not one bite at all. So then I knew that nobody was going to buy that manuscript, but I just saw it as my writing school. I basically taught myself how to write prose, and I learned what not to do. So then my second manuscript was Chasing PACQUIAO, and then I sat on it. It took me about a year to write, but I didn't query at all. I waited for the DV Pit contest on Twitter, where you pitch your manuscript and agents like it if they have interest. And so I got about 9 likes, and then I only I only queried those 9 agents. And then out of those 9, I got about 7 requests for the full manuscript. And then from there, I had to make a decision between 3 agents. And fortunately, my manuscript was picked up, and here we are.
Well, so for everybody who hasn't read it yet, can you tell us a little bit about
Sure.
what Chasing PACQUIAO is
Yeah.
about? What's your elevator pitch? You can give me a short version and then a slightly longer version.
Okay. So basically, Chasing PACQUIAO is about Bobby Agbiani, a queer Filipino teen who's bullied. And he gets outed and then bullied. And so then he learns to defend himself by studying the fights of his idol, boxing champ Manny Pacquiao. And unfortunately, he learns later on that Pacquiao is homophobic and shares the same bigoted beliefs as the bullies who torment him. So the book really is really a study of what does it mean to be a hero, and an examination of flawed heroes, and what is the role of heroes in our culture.
Well, so I read a little bit about the background story and why you chose this title. But so what was the inspiration behind the story, though? Like, this is something that's true to life, or was it just
Right.
Pacquiao affecting you in some way?
Yeah.
How it became this story.
So I was a huge Manny Pacquiao fan. I would say I was a super fan. I watched all of his fights, read all the books about him, and bought and rocked all his gear. And so when on February 16th, 2016, I believe, he gave an interview in which he said that all gay people are worse than animals. And so then he got a lot of backlash. And then, but instead of taking it back, he kind of doubled down. And so he posted a quote from, I believe, Leviticus, where it's basically justifying the murder of gay people. So, of course, it divided the Filipino community worldwide. And myself, personally, I was just shocked and angered about Pacquiao's homophobia. But actually, let me back up. Before, I was contemplating a story about a bullied teen who learns to defend himself by studying Pacquiao fights. But then after Pacquiao made his unfortunate statements, I revisited it and realized that it would be much more poignant with a queer protagonist. So yeah, it just went from there. And so a lot of it is just based on my own reaction to Pacquiao's statements. And
So for people out there who don't know who Pacquiao is, so he's a big Filipino boxer. He's well known. He's probably our biggest export, I would say. So Pacquiao is like a household name. I have to admit, my family, most of us, we do the pay-per-view. We invite like 1,000 people to watch pay-per-view, but he never really struck me as somebody like, oh, okay, because I don't like boxing, so I'm sorry. And this book has a lot of boxing in it, but it's great. And I actually read this in, I would say, 2 hours. Like, I flew through it in 2 hours, and it's great.
it's impressive.
So the main character is Bobby, and what the question I wanted to ask is Bobby based on a real person?
Not really.
Or is he like an amalgam of
Yeah, amalgam. I would say that his personality quirks are a lot of me in it. I mean, he's a comic book geek. He's obsessed with Ube, so which is pretty much describes me. So, but yeah, I think I would say that all of the characters have parts of me in them.
What surprised you the most about Bobby's story, like writing it? If anything.
Surprised me most. It's a tough question. As I very much plan what I'm going to write. I'm not a pantser. I'm a plotter.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah. So I pretty much know where I'm going. But as far as the character, I think what surprised me when I was writing him was, I think, well, while I was writing him, I would say what surprised me was my own realizations about myself, because I started questioning my own sexuality and remembering boyhood crushes I had on baseball players, and just experiences on the playground of kids calling me gay slurs, and yeah, memories that I just totally blocked out, but then just resurfaced in the writing. So I think, if anything, that's really where the surprise came. And basically, what happened was, when I first went on submission, there was an editor who wanted to pick up Chasing PACQUIAO. And so then we had a conversation and just getting to know each other, a formality. And then when she found out that I have a wife, she kind of just went silent and said, "Oh, I didn't know you're not queer." And the thing is that I was already coming to terms with my bisexuality, but I was not out to anybody. I didn't even have any discussions with my wife yet. So, of course, I wasn't going to come out to this stranger, but it was just a case of bi erasure and queer gatekeeping in the industry, because she immediately rescinded her offer. And after that, I went through a kind of a depression. And then after some lengthy, heartfelt talks with my wife, I came out to my family and my agent. And then I wrote a coming out essay called Late to the Party and posted it about my experience with bi erasure in the industry. And it quickly went viral. And that's how Chasing PACQUIAO got back on, started gaining more interest in the industry, and then it was eventually picked up. Yeah.
So Bobby, well, I'm saying Bobby. So the book came first, and then that sort of helped you internalize and re-examine your own.
Yeah, during the writing, I was recalling all of these feelings and memories that I had not thought about in years, and it all just came flooding back.
Experience.
Yeah, and then I realized, oh, this is why I'm writing this book. I realized that my anger towards PACQUIAO was a lot more personal than I first thought. So, yeah, and then it was interesting is that when I came out, my life started imitating the book in people's reactions toward me. I experienced firsthand people's homophobic reactions to me. A lot of longtime friends ghosted me. Family members, chismissed about me and said I was an embarrassment.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was rough. It was probably the toughest period of my life, and that's saying something. I was an independent filmmaker, so. But yeah, it was tough writing this and putting this on submission because it was such a personal manuscript, and then to go through not only professional rejection but then personal rejection from people who are supposed to be close to me.
What about now that it's an actual book, it's actually published, it came out May 2nd. Any change in your family's reaction, anything that came out that's a little bit more positive?
Well, just to be clear, not all of my family had that reaction. A lot of them were very supportive, but there were some who were just, they were just horrible in their reaction towards me. One family member actually accused me of cheating on my wife with a man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So
well, you don't need that person.
yeah. So basically, all of those people are not in my life anymore. So, and then the great thing about it is that I've met so many. I've made so many dear friends in the queer community, and they've been so supportive. So, yeah, I weeded out the bad and
the
replaced them with the good.
Yeah. You had a chat with I'm going a little off script, so I'm sorry about that. And so one thing that this other chat with you raised was another panel with other Filipino authors. So your book, this takes place in a specific area of Los Angeles, which is historic Filipino town. So when I was reading the book, it brought a lot of memories back to me because I grew up and spent a lot of time, but it wasn't called historic Filipino town back then. I think it was designated that, I don't know, maybe years later. So what made you decide to set it in that particular location? Does it hold a special meaning for you?
Yeah.
Or something else?
Yeah, there's a few reasons. It does hold a special meaning to me. I did spend some time in the MacArthur Park area in Hi-Fi during college. I visit SIBA and the FOSG, and I do have one of my special memories in my life is when Filipino World War II veterans were on a hunger strike, and they stayed in MacArthur Park throughout it all, and I would visit them late at night and talk to them. So yeah, it holds a Hi-Fi really holds a dear place to me. Yeah, that's like the local.
Say Hi-Fi. I think historical fiction, but that's
Yeah.
good. Historic Filipino town.
Yeah. But then another reason too is I wanted to highlight the Filipino history mural found in Unidad Park.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's an iconic mural in the LA, and since heroes play a big theme in the book, it just lent itself to that. I mean, all of our Filipino heroes are up on that mural, and there's scenes where Bobby runs by it and he reminisces about how his dad would take him there. And it's perfect too because PACQUIAO is on that mural. Right. So yeah, the mural is basically a character in it.
It is, and I love how Bobby, he runs by there, he revisits it, he brings his friends there. So it's a great piece, and I love how it's actually in a book because.
Yeah.
We were having a chat earlier. Growing up, there was really no representation whatsoever in young adult or even commercial fiction, contemporary fiction. So I'm a little jealous of the kids that are growing up now because they have this great shelf to pick from, and there's a lot more diversity than it was when I was a young adult, which was 1,000 years ago. But one thing I really love are the friendships in this book. So there's his best friend Rosie, Bobby's boyfriend. There's a mentor named Luke. So who was your favorite character, if you have one, and what was the inspiration behind that character?
Oh, Yeah, I fell in love with all of them, but all of them have character aspects that I just adore. But I would say probably Rosie is my favorite character. She's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just has no filter, and she just does not back down from anybody, and I just love that about her. And I think if she's based on anybody, there's aspects of my wife in her, because my wife is very, very tough, no nonsense, and and she can be hilarious, when she just says whatever's on her mind. So, but yeah, Rosie was so fun to write.
Yeah, she sounds like a really great friend to have.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of things in common too, so
Right.
that was good.
Yeah, I like the joke that that's the reason why I write YA, so I could create these friends that I wish I had in high school. Because I was very much kind of a loner, and I did not have a set group of friends while I was growing up. So other YA authors and I like to joke that that's the reason why we became YA writers.
We create the characters that we always felt like we wanted to have in our lives.
Right.
So I get what you mean. There was another aspect that I wanted to ask you. So when you were doing when you're writing this, did you come across any stumbling blocks in terms of research? How did you dig into high school life? Because this high school is very cutthroat, and I'm wondering if that is how high school is right now. I hope it's not.
Right. Right. Not really. I didn't really have any stumbling blocks in the research. As far as the boxing is concerned, I read a lot of how to box books and watching videos, and I even visited boxing gyms and let myself get punched in the face a few times, which is not fun, but that's how dedicated I was. And then as far as research with characters, I interviewed a lot of queer Filipinos and high schoolers, and
so there's a high school that I have in mind. It's actually near this area in historic Filipino town.
Mm-hmm.
Is Westlake a real high school?
No, it's very much fictional. And you're probably thinking of Belmont, right?
Yeah. So that's the high school I wanted to go to, but my parents didn't let me go.
Yeah. So. No, I purposely made certain parts fictional. Most of the landmarks and the places are real, but I didn't want to use a real high school because I didn't want people saying that's not how that high school is, Yeah. So I created a fictional high school, so I could have artistic license, and but I very much did do the research about lower income queer students and how part of the reason why I wanted Bobby to be from a lower class is to show that the queer people are not a monolith, and that one coming out experience isn't the same as another, especially for low income people of color. I remember when I was writing the book, one author, a white author, said to me that coming out stories were passé. And I was very insulted by that. And she was saying that it's all been done before. I was like, no, it has not. I go, maybe from your point of view, I mean, sure, you have all these books for the middle class white queer characters, but just seeing from this book, it's obvious that there are so many more stories to tell.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it's really wonderful to see representation from Filipino community or Asians as a whole. So I don't agree with what that person said at all. A lot of our stories still need to be told. So
sure.
And that includes coming out, and we all have different backgrounds. So it's important to have this out here. I'm very excited. So deep question. If you were to meet Manny Pacquiao, what would you say to him right now?
Yeah, I would just say, dude, buy my book. You might learn something.
I don't even think he reads. I'm sorry. I'm like,
Ouch.
I know. I'm sorry.
No. Everything that I would say to Pacquiao in person is in this book. But I guess I would say to him, it's great that you're devout in your religion, but you can't justify bigotry with your beliefs. And I would say, you you offended so many of your fans. You lost so many of your fans, and it would be great if you realized why. But
I hope he picks it up.
yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
And then the last question, what are you currently working on? Any new projects?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I really can't talk too much about my next book.
I'll have one
yeah.
author say that, like,
Yeah.
secret project I'm working on.
Yeah, I will say though, it's about Asian hate crimes during the pandemic. So that's all I'm going to say. But it explores that period.
What about, is it adult, young adult?
It's
You don't know
YA.
yet? Okay.
It's about a teenage filmmaker who usually makes action movies, but then after his uncle is beaten, he decides to make a documentary for the first time about all of the Asian hate crimes going on.
I would love to read that.
Yeah, but it's like my MO is kind of I take these difficult, heavy topics, but then I put a light spin on it because I don't want people to think that Chasing PACQUIAO is just a downer of a book. It's a hilarious book.
It's
too.
really, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's uplifting.
Yeah, it's all those. I kind of don't write in one genre because I feel like life isn't like that. I mean, there's dramatic parts, there's funny parts, there's sad parts in it, just like life. So I really try to play around with all those different flavors.
I think everything that you sort of described as in this book has a little bit of everything, and it's wonderful. I highly, highly recommend reading it.
Thank you for saying. I appreciate that.
And then, so the next set of questions are going to be my lightning round session.
All right, let's get to it.
But I keep shutting down. I keep okay, sorry. Okay. So what's the last book you read by a Filipino-American author?
Okay, so I am in the middle of Tracy Badua's latest book. It's right over here. This is not a personal statement, which is about a Filipina American who is an overachiever and, of course, gets a lot of pressure from her parents to succeed, but she does not get into her dream school, doesn't get into any of her schools. So she, instead of telling her parents, she pretends that she did get in and then lives on campus and takes classes and tries to fool everyone into thinking that she goes there. So it's a very interesting, fun concept. So I'm in the middle of that right now. But as far as other books that I've read, I really enjoyed May Respicio's books. My son and Alex and I read her books together. Her latest book, How to Win a Slime War, the main character is a Filipino boy named Alex, and he has long hair and he likes playing soccer, which described my son to a T when we were reading it. So I really appreciated that because my son got to read a character who was basically a mirror image of him. Yeah, and I never had that when I was growing up.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think the closest one was maybe Babysitter's Club, and there's Claudia Kishi,
Mm.
who is the only, well, the first Asian American character I saw in a long time. So that was, I don't know. I think it's still out. Well, Babysitter's Club is still out, but she was my role model.
Hmm.
The next question I have for you, I actually stole from Olivia Blake. She was moderating here before.
Okay.
So she asked the author, what's a memorable book that you read as a child, a memorable book you read as a person in your 20s, and a current book that's memorable to you now? And you can't mention any of the books you just talked about.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I became a voracious reader through the Hardy Boys book series. I devoured that series. I just, if anyone knows who read Hardy Boys books, there's like a checklist of like 50 titles on the back of each book, and I would just check them off, and I would devour one a day. And so that was my first real obsession as a reader. And so then, what's the next level?
20s. Your
20s.
20s,
Okay.
which was,
Oh, wow.
last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's around college. So I would say probably the pivotal book of my college years is the autobiography of Malcolm X, which played a pivotal role in developing my political thought. And what I admire about Malcolm is it showed me that it didn't matter what your background was or where you came from, that you could still rise up and make a difference in people's lives. So that's a lot of what drives me too. Even when things get tough, as an author, I think to my heroes like Malcolm X and other Filipino heroes like Larry Itliong, and I remind myself that these people had it far worse. So I have nothing to complain about, and it just it reminds me that the experience of people of color in America is all about struggle, and we are not, the only way we can advance is to fight through the struggle.
Then what about present day?
Oh, wow. God, I've read so many books lately.
You could also say past.
Yeah. Present day, a book that I completely love is Becky Albertalli's latest, Imogen Obviously, which is about the greatest queer ally in the world, right? But who slowly discovers that maybe she's not straight after all. And she realizes that she's bisexual over the course of a week, and reactions from her other queer friends. So it's very much Becky's Reputation era novel, as far as her dealing with all of the backlash that she received in her own life when she came out bisexual.
And you just met her last weekend, right? Like, didn't you? Or have you met her before?
That was the first time I met her in person at Y'all West. But so we've actually been close friends for 2 years. After I wrote my coming out essay, she was one of the first people to contact me. She emailed me and reached out to me, and she said she was moved by my essay. And ever since, she's been my mentor. So.
Great. Okay. So there's a lot of comic book references in this book. Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel, all the way.
Of course, right?
Yeah, I grew up a Marvel kid. I was obsessed with Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I mean, I really very much related to Peter Parker.
He's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, he was me. He was a nerdy kid, picked on, But yeah, and not only him, I just was obsessed with the X-Men, and
Me too.
yeah, their story of super group of mutants who protects the world that fear and hates them. It's totally grounded in all of my work. There's a graphic novel, X-Men: God Loves, Man Kills, that is referenced in Chasing PACQUIAO. And the X-Men square off not against a super group of villains, but an ordinary preacher who preaches hate against mutants. So, as you can imagine, my work is completely influenced by that book. A lot of themes.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
It's
it's a great
I'm a
read.
big X-Men fan too,
Yeah.
growing up. So what superpower would you have?
Oh,
Pick.
wow. Yeah, you know, we were just talking about this in another panel. I would love to be one of the Marvel wizards, you know, because I would love to hang out with Wong, because I think he's just a cool guy, and we go karaoke together, and
That's
and
true.
I just think that Wong is an underused character. Like, he needs his own movie. It's like, forget Doctor Strange, man.
Yeah.
Let's follow this guy. He's more interesting to me,
Yeah, I want to learn what he does because he did some cameos in She-Hulk,
right? Right.
and he just kind of goes off somewhere, and I want to know.
Yeah,
more.
and he's actually the Sorcerer Supreme of the Marvel Universe now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great.
So he should be the lead guy.
Maybe it's in development. So
Hmm. At least the TV show, man.
yeah,
Get on it, Feige.
I think a lot. Yeah, I think my favorite was Psylocke, only because she was half Asian.
Hmm. Yeah, Psylocke's pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
cool. She had like 0 parts in the X-Men movies, but
Right? Yeah, she was like in with the
forgot which one it was.
She was in one of the later ones, but she had no lines.
She had, yeah.
Right?
I think she was there just to look pretty.
Yeah.
Which is great disgrace to her character.
Right.
Okay, now the last question is, what's your favorite Filipino dish?
Oh.
Ube does not count.
Come
Ube
on.
is like a dessert. It's like a, it's like a starch.
Okay. Yeah, well then I would definitely go with kare. It's like I could eat that for weeks and not get tired of it. I mean, that's probably the only time I eat rice too. Like I mean, I just love kare. The oxtail, and especially when the meat's tender.
It's pretty good. My mom
Yeah.
makes a really good one.
Oh yeah, it's like that's that'll be my my last meal, I think. Kare and ube.
Ube dessert.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for me.
All right.
And for now, I guess we're gonna do some Q&A from the audience.
All right. Let's get to it.
Or did you want to do those first
Oh,
or the
yeah.
Q&A?
Oh,
That's a good question.
well, yeah. Why don't we? I guess we could just give out prizes first. Yeah, I only have a few. So I used to be a graphic design major before I switched to film. So I've been doing up some hats, and I've been giving them away at functions. So I got some trivia questions for you guys, and anyone who gets them right can get a hat. Okay, so anyone out there, who knows what the name of the wrestler turned actor who stars as Drax in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Anyone? Come on. Volume 3 comes out this weekend. Yeah, in the back there.
Batista?
Yeah, what's his first name?
Got me.
Okay, well, we will take Batista as an answer. It's Dave Bautista. Yeah. All right.
I never knew this part Filipino.
Yeah. Okay, so which one do you want?
Whichever one.
Okay, well, I want you to take the official one.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So I don't know if anyone's going to get this. I don't see any teens in the audience, but anyone know the name of Olivia Rodrigo's first show on the Disney Channel?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Call a lifeline. Use a lifeline.
You that is her second show. Oh, but close enough. Okay, well, how about we do this? Who can guess what my favorite Olivia Rodrigo song is? Come on, it's just like one of the singles. Not a lot of big Olivia Rodrigo fans.
Titles. I can sing it badly.
Okay, well, we will take High School Musical as an answer. Okay, even though the correct answer is Bizarre for anyone who-
Who else was on that show?
Oh, Logan Paul was on it. Yeah, before he became a mediocre boxer.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Guess one more. Okay, for anyone who knows about my movie, who knows what year The Flip Side was at Sundance Film Festival? Anyone?
2000.
Close. Okay, it's the year is actually a movie from my favorite director, Stanley Kubrick. 2000 blank, A Space Odyssey.
2001.
Yes, there we go. All right, so you win an official copy of the Flip Side screenplay, which includes my Sundance Film Festival diary. The gentleman in the hat. All right, so that's all the prizes you have. Why don't we get some questions from the audience? Anyone?
So for virtual, real quick, one person does say that if you're in San Diego for long, you should definitely go to the La Jolla. There's a place there called All Things Ube.
I've heard of this place.
I've never heard of this place.
And I will definitely try to check that out.
This question from Alyssa: was there anything new you learned about yourself while writing this book, aside from what you discussed?
Aside from, anything new? That was the big one. I think, okay, so there's a throwaway line in there. And I was a huge baseball fan growing up, and then not so much now because I kind of realized how boring it can be. I mean, when I was playing it, I loved it. Okay, so there's like a throwaway line, which I put in there because of my realization. Bobby and his boyfriend, Brandon, are... Bobby just had a confrontation with Brandon's dad that Brandon wasn't there for, and so then he's asking him, "So what did you and my dad talk about?" And Bobby was all, baseball, and then he's like, "You don't watch baseball." He's like, "Name one baseball player," and he's like, "Jackie Robinson," and he's all, "Yeah, I meant one from the century," and then. In Bobby's inner monologue, he's saying, "Yeah, of course I don't watch baseball. It's like watching 9 guys loitering in pajamas."
Oh.
But yeah, I mean that's just one of the things I kind of realized. I mean, I still love baseball. I follow like the highlights and all that, but I cannot sit through a full game. Yes, in the front.
Sadia, thank you for being here. I love the cover of the book.
Right? It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
My question was, what would you say was the most difficult thing to write, and what was the easiest part?
Ooh, okay. I think getting a handle on the antagonist, Rex, was difficult. Trying to make him sympathetic while not flinching in his depicting his bigotry. But I think I succeeded. He does have some sympathetic moments and even a heroic moment. So again, it goes back to the theme of what exactly is a hero and who can be considered one. So that was difficult. I had to go through a few drafts before I could make him a little more three-dimensional. The easiest part. I would say just all the ube references. I just throw in like anything I love, any ube dish I put in there, and all the comic book references. I love throwing those in.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Yes.
This question's for me. I always find it fascinating when authors have their families and friends read their books. Did any of them ask you if particular characters were based off of them, and were they correct?
You know, to be honest, I don't think any of my family has read it yet. I mean, they bought the book because I am very guarded with my work. I actually didn't let anybody read the book except for a couple of editors and my wife. But yeah, to be honest, none of the characters are based on any of them. I mostly pulled from parts of myself. You can find the character parts even in minor characters. So there's this one character who likes Rosie, and he's obsessed with matching his clothes, which I was just basically making fun of myself. I mean, look at me. I have to match right down to my shoes, you know. So, yeah, I would say most of the characters are parts of me. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of it. How about you in the front?
This is more of a publishing question.
Sure.
It's you reference a real life boxer. Did the publishers have any concerns, like legally,
Right.
referencing him?
Yeah, you know, before I started writing, I actually did my own research because, of course, I didn't want to write an entire book and find out that it couldn't be published for legal reasons. But you know, for public figures, people who are in the public eye, they could be in your book. But actually, PACQUIAO is not a character in the book. He's basically Bobby just watches his fights and then finds out about his homophobic statements, which are on record. It's public record. You could Google it. There's video of it. And I basically just take the facts. So he's actually not a character in the book. So, and then, yeah, that question has never come up in talks with my editor, my agent. And so, yeah, and if you look at other fictional works, there's always books and movies with public figures. One thing that comes to mind is the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer, which it's similar in that the main character worships the chess player Bobby Fischer, and he talks about him and learns about his matches. But Fischer is not a character in the book. So I kind of patterned Chasing PACQUIAO after that. Sure. Yes, again.
So Crystal from online asks, as a filmmaker, did you find anything surprising about your writing process when jumping from screenplay to novel format?
Oh yeah, that was a difficult process, learning how to write prose, because you know, when I was a screenwriter, that's all I had done. I worked screenplays for years, and you know, I would just write bare sentences, like a guy walks into a room, you know, followed by a couple lines of dialogue, and then I would break for lunch. But you know, you can't get away with that with prose. So it was difficult at first. I had to learn how to be more descriptive. You know, just describing the room, what people are wearing, what they smell like. You know, of course, not everything, but just what's pertinent to the scene. And the way I approach prose now is it's still very much like a filmmaker, but instead of camera shots being the basic, basis of a scene, I use sentences and paragraphs, and I see them as the shot. So like, it's the movie is playing in my head and I'm just describing it. So that's how, as a filmmaker turned author, that's how I approach it. Yes.
So kind of on that question, did you read any craft books to learn how to write stories?
Oh yeah, a lot of them.
Would you recommend any?
Oh my God. No, I can't really recall the titles because a lot of them are just generic, like how to write great YA stories or something like that. I can't. But I read like probably a dozen of them, and oh man, as far as just storytelling, I recommend the book Story by Robert McKee, which just breaks down story structure, and it doesn't really go into prose, but I just see like all storytelling is similar. I mean, you still need to have an inciting incident. You need a big beginning, middle, and an end, and a three-part structure. So I still follow that, even though I'm an author now. All right. You want to go in the back?
Given society's obsession with celebrity, and it seems that we tend to deify a lot of folks who we wouldn't otherwise ascend to that level because of either their status or what they've become infamous or famous for. Was that intentional when you were writing this book, that you were trying to make a wider commentary about hero worship and how we choose our heroes and then
Oh yeah.
we become crestfallen, and then that so my question is what are you hoping the reader to take away from the wider context as far as hero worship and just the culture of celebrity in general?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's definitely parts of that in the story. That's a good way to describe the overall theme. As far as what I want them to take away from it, I would just like people to question why they choose their heroes and what is truly important. Because, like you said, people worship celebrities for the smallest reason, or the people whose moral character aren't deserving of it. But yeah, I would definitely love that. There's a line towards the end of the book where Bobby is coming to terms with his hero worship of PACQUIAO, and he says that heroes aren't supposed to tear people down. They're supposed to uplift them. And I think I would love the reader to take that away from the book, that there are more important things to admire somebody than just their boxing skills. Yes.
All right, I think this will be a good question to leave off of. Alyssa Online asks, would you like your book to become a movie? If so, who's your dream cast?
Well, yeah, of course. I would love for it to be a movie.
And would you write the screenplay?
Yeah, I don't want to jinx myself, but I mean, I am a filmmaker, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay. But my dream cast. Okay, so Luke, the trainer, he's an African American older man. I really saw Cedric the Entertainer in my head while I was writing it. Yeah. As far as the younger, well, because the majority of the cast are teens, so it would have to be unknowns. I mean, there aren't. Can you name me a teenage Filipino film actor? I mean, I don't know. There's the guy from Spider-Man, but yeah, but he's Jacob Baton.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, yeah, he wouldn't exactly be right. I mean, he's a little old too. Yeah, so it would be a definite search for a talented young actors to play them. Of course, there's like I would probably have flashback scenes of Bobby's dad, and there's what I would love to cast is Dave Bautista, because the reason why I had that trivia question is because Dave Bautista was good friends with Manny Pacquiao. He actually walked down to the ring with him a couple times as a part of his entourage. They were tight. But then when Manny made his homophobic statements, on the record and on camera, Dave Bautista said, "What a moron. My mom is a lesbian, and I do not stand for that." And then recently, Dave Bautista revealed that he had a Manny Pacquiao tattoo, which he had removed after he made those statements. So the reason why I bring that up is that that is true allyship. And people need to take notes, because I've had so many people who say to my face that, "Oh, I love your book. I support it. Yeah, that's great." And then behind my back, they would have Manny Pacquiao fight parties. Hoping I didn't find out. Everybody else is invited except Rod. Yeah. So, yeah, I would love to cast Dave Bautista.
All right, everyone, thank you so much. Let's give a nice round of applause for Rod.
Thank you.
So much. It's been wonderful. I hope everyone watching online get a copy of this book now. Order it now. All right, everyone who's in store, we're going to go ahead and start the in-store signing. If you have your books you would like to get signed, we have some